A very good morning and warm welcome to all to second day of 3-day workshop on DevOps practices in industry. I thank all of you for your enthusiastic participation in yesterday's morning session and afternoon practical session as well. I am glad that some of you could complete the installation and ran the build successfully. Let us hope others as well gear up in today's afternoon session. Let me take privilege of introducing today's speaker, Mr. A. Srinivas Rao Garu. He is working as Cloud and DevOps Solutions Architect. He has more than 23 years of IT experience. Sir is alumni of NIT Warangal and HCU Hyderabad. We are going to hear from Sir on role of cloud in DevOps. I request all participants to make use of his wide experience. Sir, I request you to start the session.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jayashree. Good morning, everyone. So I'll share my screen. Okay. Dr. Jayashree, would you please allow me to share my screen?
Yes,
Post.
sir. You will be able to do, sir.
Okay. So the topic of today's discussion is more of how cloud and DevOps operate together and how they help us transform digitally, both at the personal level as well as at the enterprise level, and how we can cope up or thrive in the digitally disruptive world. So this will be the agenda. So what and why we need DevOps? Okay, the reason I believe that this needs to be more emphasized is generally people can learn pretty well themselves, provided they are convinced that it is important to learn. So the reasons of or the motivations why DevOps is important or the cloud is important needs to be understood well, so that people get an interest to learn the things on themselves. And what are the use cases for the industry as well as at different level? What are the problems that DevOps actually solve, and why it is important for you? And what is the digital transformation? This is a very very talked about word, and then you see that this is impacting everyone, including a common man who is not related to the technology at all, including people who are retired from their services. Let's talk about it, when during that topic. We are all getting digitally disrupted, irrespective of whether we are connected with the technology or not. We'll come to that. And the cloud related briefing, how cloud and DevOps operate together, and what are the use cases, what problems does it solve, and how it is making the world flat, how it is making the competition more difficult, and how the things are advantageous, depending on the side that you are in, and how it is a major disruption depending again on the side you are in. And some details of the DevOps which are not normally covered as part of the DevOps discussions, but which are very important for us. And the takeaways, like what do you need to take away towards the end of this call? Right? What are the things that you need to remember? What are the things you need to explore further? During these discussions, keep posting your questions, but allow me some time that when I will have a look at it and answer those questions. Generally, like I plan to schedule this talk in 3 steps. One is an hour about generally discussing the talk, and in between answering a few questions depending on how it actually goes. And another is a half an hour exclusively for Q&A session. Another is AWS based some basic demos how do you use AWS, how the cloud is empowering the technologies, how it is important, why it is important for you. Okay, irrespective of where you are in. Things. So these are the three different topics that we'll go ahead and cover. With that said, yeah. Okay. In between, let me know in case if you're in case if you have any questions, keep typing the questions in Q&A, and then we'll I'll try to answer in between in the pauses or otherwise in the Q&A session. So DevOps is something slightly difficult to define. Don't bother much about the definition for now, but this is a set of practices which help the industry or even the individuals to cope up with the speed and make make us release the products early into the market, reduce the cost of such development, and scale the products, and make sure that security has been verified and our operations to own those products are easy. Now, many of these things for a student, these are not very relevant. I mean, this is, this solves a problem which the student has not experienced, right? A POC or a project which a student does, like not generally at a scale, not generally tested with the security, at least not, at the DR level and all that. So for the student, the relevancy of these solutions that the DevOps provide is not easy to relate to. So that's the reason I want to have a discussion actually of the digital transformation, so that we can come and relate to why this is important for you. So one thing you remember it is like this is important for you irrespective of almost any domain you work on, be it systems programming or middleware engineering or network programming or compiler development, or you're into mobile computing, anywhere, this is important. And you need to know how some of these, the DevOps flows or in general overall architecture works. You may be hands-on, you may be expert or not, depending on your role, but you need to know these flows once you get into the industry. This is very, very, very relevant for most of you. Now, these are some of the popular diagrams that you see, and many of these tools, and then in general the flow of DevOps stuff has been discussed yesterday, and this is a popular thing that you keep coming across whenever there is a DevOps discussion happening. For example, in the coding phase, some code repository or configuration tool has been used. Usually that's a Git tool that most of the people are using today. GitLab, in fact, not just a coding level tool, but it's a larger scope of it covers entire DevOps. Gradle and these are repository and build tools. Azure is like provides all cloud solutions, just like AWS for the most part of it. OpenStack we'll discuss it another time. Again, that's a very larger scope of discussion. Jenkins is something you use on a regular basis. Whenever you discuss about DevOps or CI/CD pipelines, etc. There are many tools, like we have discussed initially. There are many processes or the culture or the tools all together becomes DevOps, and it is kind of difficult to give a very precise definition. Now, going to motivation, why DevOps is important for us, right? Let's take a step back and look in terms of the digitally transforming world. The one thing that is happening in the world right now, in the technology world, is there's a huge digital disruption that is happening. And organizations are trying to transform digitally to cope up with the digital disruption that is happening. For example, one of the major change is Businesses used to see the technology as an enabler, as a support function, and as a probably as a partner, right? If you are in an IT department, you help the business, right? But you are not the main business. That used to be the view of the things, right? They used to use the technology for their payments, their emails and other communications, collaborations, and their accounting. They're keeping their records and so on. But over past few years, things have changed so rapidly that technology is becoming center of the business, even though that's not a technology business in the private. Look at the case of Ola, right? What the business Ola is doing basically is about the transportation, but Ola is not owning any cabs, right? Ola is not driving anything. It is providing a platform as a technology platform. Whereas for a transportation business, but who's at the center of the technology or who is at the center of the business? It's the technology is at the center of the business. Look at Amazon. Amazon is not selling anything, not buying anything. It is providing a marketplace for buyers and sellers to come and meet and then do it. But you go there for Amazon, right? It is providing a platform experience. Who's at the center of it? Amazon fundamentally, like, it's a marketplace, but we are viewing that as a retailer. Okay, you understand the differences, how this is going on? And look at Udemy. What is Udemy providing us? We view that, where there are many educational courses that we can learn there, right? But what is actually Udemy providing? There are multiple trainers who are coming and teaching there. They're uploading their training materials, and we are learning them, many of them, at our own pace. Okay, so this is a place where a teacher and student are meeting for their learning needs, whereas Udemy is providing an excellent platform. So what is becoming at the center of the stage? Udemy itself is not teaching anybody anything, and neither it is learning anything. There are many examples like this. So technology is becoming the center of the business. Whereas in the traditional models, a university may think that their own IT department provides access to the children, student, and they keep their maintain the library records into IT and so on. So whereas in the digitally disrupted world, things have changed a lot. Technology is becoming in the forefront of the business, right? So in general, when we talk about this digital disruption or a digital transformation, there are like views that we visit that sometime back we have this industrial revolution, and where human effort was reduced by some machines, and then there is a mass production and interchangeability. Goods are produced in with some specification in a mass scale, and then there is information revolution. If you look at now, the information revolution is kind of completed in the sense that most of the information that you need today is freely available in most of the cases, including some of the important technical learnings that you need. Right? And YouTube is one of the most used search engines, more than the Google itself often. And people are first searching on the YouTube how to do certain thing before they even go to Google. So many of this information needs are available already. I mean, information is available already. Now, the way the digitally transforming businesses is the digital disruptions that is happening is impacting the people different way. The business models themselves are completely altered. There are predictions that the major corporates who are in the Fortune 500 companies list, next year 20% of them won't be there in that list. Some other things will come up. That's a very rapid change, right? And Ola Electric, for example, we don't know that most people are not aware of that company until a couple of months ago. But in 2 days, they are able to make a 1100 crore business. Things are changing very rapidly, and we are in a great times where technology is like, we are able to we have got a chance to participate in this huge technology disruption that is happening. And cost is getting reduced, which is, and something the businesses need to cope up with. But if you are on the consumer side, you're great, right? You want to go to the market and buy something. Earlier, you don't know exactly what is the price that you need to expect that. Now you have a comparison factor. You can check in a Flipkart, or you can check in the Amazon and ask the seller, can you match this, right? And prices are coming down and options are increasing. You can buy different products which are available on multiple places, and in general the cost is getting down with many of these the models the way it is. And again, I go back to the Ola Electric recent case that India is experiencing. The cost at which they are offering an electric bike which has so much of range and so many facilities is like very, very reasonable. The job impact, okay, so this is something many of us are, this is what we are most focused on. Some of the traditional jobs are vanishing because of are getting impacted because of the way the technology is getting disrupted, whereas the new jobs are getting created. So what do we need to do? How will we get impacted, right? And employment models are changing. Earlier, people used to look for a very large company which is, well established and known. A brand is known across. The brand visibility is more important. But now, a significant portion of the top talent is looking for jobs in the startup, and the number of startups, I have those numbers that I'll discuss in the next few slides, but the number of jobs that are available in the new business models and new companies that are created in India itself is like the number of jobs they're offering are like quite a bit, and still a lot of changes are coming up. We have around 67 unicorn companies that are floated in the past few years. And unicorn, by the way, in case if you are not aware of it, a unicorn is something, a startup which was valued more than $1 billion, which is like more than 7,500 crores, right? It is valued at that. I mean, somebody is willing to buy at that price, a startup. Right? We have more than 67 unicorns which are created, and the expectation earlier, or the estimate earlier, was that by 2025 we will have 100 plus unicorns in India and 60,000 plus startups which are still doing very good. Whereas we are in 2021 and already there are 67 unicorns, and the estimate is revised that there will be 150 unicorns. And even in 2021, we are just in September. This year itself, there are around 23 unicorns created. Right? The pace at which the things are going very positively, this is huge. And many of you are either a digitally native generation, or you are close there, or somebody who is probably 5 years younger to you are a digitally native generation. For them, many things which are in the digital world comes naturally, right? For example, operating a mobile phone comes naturally for a 10 years or 5 years, not even 5 years, like probably a 10 years old kid. And if you teach them a little bit or just leave the phone, they are comfortable, operating a few things on that. They're comfortable operating a pizza for themselves if you allow them. Right? Whereas this won't come naturally for many other people who have grown up and taught in a different set of technologies. There are cloud native apps that are getting developed. The very application is designed initially so that it will get hosted on the cloud. The cloud is not an after choice. It is a choice right in the beginning of the architecture that this gets hosted on the cloud. These are the things that are happening around, and this is a sea change. understand this change, appreciate, how this is impacting to you, irrespective of which particular job or the career path that you choose. This is still relevant for you. This is still impactful for you. Okay, and aligning with this change is like will give you a very, very good opportunities irrespective of which domain you work on. Right? So some of the major digital transformation technology, transformations that are happening in front of us is, I have already talked about Ola Electric for some time. And we have multiple cloud offerings that are available. How cloud will actually impact us in the digital transformation as well as in general for us for quickly delivering something. I will show that even in a demo. Right? We'll discuss it separately in the coming slides. Udemy, we have discussed it. And YouTube, I'm sure most of you are using the YouTube to get some or other information very, very easily, very, very quickly, and in an easily understandable format. It's only up to you. How do you use it? The skill that you need in the digital world is how do you use the technology correctly without getting carried away. How do you don't get toxified by the digital world, but rather keep yourself digitally detox and use it only appropriately, use it only to the extent that you need it. Otherwise, it has a lot of interesting stuff. You keep browsing it and you get lost. Right? Amazon and Flipkart that we know, and the drones, the amount of disruption that the drones is causing, for example, it has redefined the world of photography. It has redefined the world of cinematography. And if you know how to operate a high quality drone, that itself provides a lot of employment opportunities. Right? Google, we all know. The digital transformation that happened in the media streaming, some of you may or may not be aware there used to be something called VCP, the video cassette player. I'm not aware of it. I mean, some of you may not be aware of it, but CD, maybe you might have heard of it. But DVD, I guess, and then there used to be so VCPs are gone, CDs are gone, DVDs are gone, and then there used to be a Blu-ray disc in between, and then people used to watch movies or transfer the some of these entertainment stuff using USB pen drive. Now all of these are gone. Things are now on the streaming. Nobody is carrying the data from one place to another. Now what this also means that what happened to all those businesses and people working in those businesses in terms of either the jobs or their own businesses who were earlier producing the CDs, DVDs, Blu-ray discs, and who used to rent the DVDs. What happened to all those jobs? What happened to all those opportunities? You're directly on the OTT streaming. You don't have anybody in between, right? So there's so much of change. And Ola and Uber, as a customer, if you need a taxi, you can quickly get it, right? But look at the way that it is impacting the world. There are many millennial generations are not interested in buying a car and owning a car. For the most part of it, you don't drive much of a car. You keep it in the parking space. You use it only occasionally. But you tend to pay its insurance, its fuel, its maintenance, and regular servicing, and then a huge ownership cost. There are many people over a period of time because of these options, etc., not owning the cars anymore. How does that impact automobile industry? Right? There's so many changes going on, and this eventually impacts us also. One example that I can tell you is as kind of a digital native person, you are comfortable operating all these apps for yourself, but you may be observing many of your parents or elderly citizens who are at your home are not as comfortable operating it, and they are seeking your help. You can help them order something on Amazon. They have money in their accounts. They have also a mobile, but they don't know how to operate it and order it. You are currently helping them. right? And they need some, some of the things that they want to learn, but they don't know how to go and operate in the Udemy, or they don't know how to find a particular movie that they are interested in YouTube, right? There is a huge digital divide, and which you are currently comfortable on the upper side of the divide. You have all the knowledge that is needed. You are well enabled, okay, but times are changing. Stay tuned. Okay, so I'll take a small pause. Let me look at what is the Q&A that we have. Yeah, this is there's a question that being student, it is important for us to understand AWS Cloud DevOps relationship as is one of yes. This is something I will discuss it at fairly good length. And this question will be answered in the coming few slides. Now, as I said, we are living in exciting times today. This is a good time to be well educated about computer science. I mean, within the computer science field, irrespective of which domain you are in, all these are going to impact. Even if you are in some VLSI related stuff, and you see that how the chips are, I mean, mobiles are getting cheaper every day. Right? Every year you are getting a new model, and which is coming at a lower price. How is the industry coping up with it? Whereas in the rest of all other industry, the costs are increasing. How is mobile computing or a mobile manufacturing industry is going to give you much better models with a smaller price, with the still coping up with the inflation also? Okay, there are few major trends that are happening. There is a trend which is noticed that the wealth is shifting. More and more millionaires and billionaires are coming up in Eastern countries. Earlier, it used to be more in the Western countries. This is slowly shifting. India is a hugely emerging market. Like I was telling you some time ago, 27 out of 65 unicorn. Again, I'll say, what is unicorn is like a company which has $1 billion valuation, which is like approximately 7,500 crores and above. Right? 27 of 65 unicorns of India are created in 2021 only. And we are still in the September, right? The scale of things happening in India is huge. Again, go back to Ola Electric example. They are they are producing, at least their plan is to produce around 20 million electric scooters every year, which is around 2 crores, right? Look at the way, and which means that in next 4 to 5 years, if it goes well and they are able to deliver and the world receives it very well, etc. In the next 4 to 5 years, you see most of the electric scooters on the road. Whereas if you look at last 2 to 3 years, there are many companies, including some of the big names in the industry, trying to create electric scooters, but many top brands together, they're able to sell around 2,000 units for the last almost 1.5 years or 2 years. 2,000 units or 3,000 units somewhere there. Whereas Ola Electrical is able to sell more than 1 lakh units in just 2 days. So this is so disruptive, right? How do you feel if you're on the customer side? You really have a great opportunity. For the same money, you get much better product, right? But how do you feel that if you are working in the Ola Electric, you're on the top of the cloud? But how do you feel if you're on other parts of either conventional automotive industry or some other electric industry which is not delivering to that speed? How does that whole thing happen, right? And there are whole changes, lot of changes coming in the startup ecosystem. There are so many startups which are coming up in India. I would, encourage you all to spend some time, understand what is happening, subscribe to a few channels which I am, listing towards the end of this session. For example, one is your story. There's a channel called Your Story who describes the startup, who takes up one startup ecosystem at a time in their video presentations on the YouTube. And similarly, there's something called INC 42. Right? There are many things who explain you what is that the startup is doing, where are they located, what is currently their success level, and so on and so forth. Let me just check. There is a Q&A. Yeah. Thanks. Somebody is just sharing their understanding. That's not actually a question. Yeah, right. That's correct. Amazon is a marketplace. Amazon is not selling anything to us. Similarly, Udemy is not directly selling anything to us. They're just facilitating it. Okay. If you have some course which is of a great demand to the world, yeah, but just a second. When I am opening the question and answer thing in my screen, are you able to see it, Dr. Jayshree? Is that also visible to you when I'm opening
Yes,
it
sir.
here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So then, yeah.
Q&A both are visible, sir.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So the question is Amazon, somebody has typed, Amazon is a marketplace and Udemy is an education space, but customers and partners are different. Till now we are thinking the other way around and Amazon is managing it all. Good to know this, yeah. That's the way you need to view it. Let's say, for example, you have some course to go and present it, right? If you make that course in a format in which it needs to be hosted in Udemy, and assuming that there are a lakh people who are going to buy at a small price, like a 500 rupees, imagine what is the size of the money, or what is the kind of opportunity that is available, and nobody is preventing you in doing it, right? Your knowledge, your presentation is all that matters, right? And there's a huge money out there, and if you look at the number of people who are buying from some of the popular courses. People are buying in the 40,000 members, 50,000 members, and so on. The business opportunities are open, right? It's like earlier you didn't know that there are certain opportunities exist, right? And whereas now the opportunities that exist, and there are some people who are taking it up actively. Whereas at the same time, this is a threat to some other existing models of education, teaching, right? Look at these things. So the world is changing rapidly. And earlier, for example, let's assume that you have a nice product, and many people love to buy that at the price you are selling. But across the India, not many people know it. Only people within your known circle know it, and you have a hard time convincing the retailers to showcase your product. Now, if you go and place it in Amazon, right, then across the world knows it. And the market is so easily reachable, and it's so competitive too, right? So there are these things. Everything changes so much, and with so much of transforming world. Let's say if some application developer develops an application in an organization that I'm working, and if I tell them that I'll need some 3 months to host it, scale it, make it secure, and uh, provide a disaster recovery solutions, etc., etc. That is 3 months is too much of a time. And there were not too long ago, there were times, I have participated in a project in one of my earlier company. We have $1 million budget for just the infrastructure alone, right? Servers and etc. The budget is allocated, and when we talk to our infrastructure team, they said they need 3 months to buy it from the vendor and uh, get the custom clearance, host, keep it connected to our network, and give the access to us. 3 months is too much. right? Today, I can get a similar thing. I mean, this is because that time the cloud is not well adopted in that particular company that I have worked, I have consulted or have worked. But in the cloud, if I want a similar thing, if I have the money and the budget is allocated, I can get it in less than an hour, right? And so, and I don't need to buy those things upfront. I can rent it for a year. And if my idea or something works up or scales up, etc., then I'll rent it for another year, or probably rent it for a month initially to start with, right? So my ability to compete with the rest of the world and a few things have drastically increased without spending so much of money on that. And I don't have to own all that stuff. Right? Somebody else will maintain that infrastructure. I'll show you how you can create a simple Linux server in AWS cloud in 2 minutes, right? I mean, towards the end of this in the demo, all you need is just a couple of minutes, create a Linux server and do whatever you want on the Linux server, right? Earlier, that used to be a very difficult task. And some of you who have the cloud as your course in your curriculum, or if it is an optional course, if you have opted for it, you can understand it. But the the participant here are distribute. I mean, they are of from comes of all different types of courses. So some of them, yes, they are familiar with it. Some of them are not. So I'll have a very quick demo towards later part of this in this talk, and then show you how you can create or spin up an EC2 instance just in 2 minutes. And when you have a EC2, I mean a Linux server available in 2 minutes, when you have a YouTube course, which is a very good course available in some 300 or 400 rupees, what is the thing that you can learn? And if you can learn so much, it's so easily, what is preventing a 10th class student to learn that and compete with you, right? So who is your competition now? What is preventing a first year student to learn that? Okay, so think about this. The world is highly digitally disrupted, and what this means is it's really nothing to scare, but this is a lot of opportunities are there. You just need to know what are the opportunities that are around and position yourself and learn the skills or the kind of attitude or a digital mindset that you need to go and compete there. Let me just go for a second. On-demand people skills are also possible for a company. They'll be able to manage them. There's a huge project to deliver in 2 months. This is more of a project management or let's say team ramp up related question. Vendors usually do this for us. I mean, when I have vendors who do this for us. For example, if I ask my vendor, can you provide me some 5 or 10 or whatever number of people to work in this project, which I needed for probably a 6 months time or something? They can respond it pretty well. Instead of me hiring them, which I don't need it because after 6 months or 1 year, I don't have the project. The consultants companies precisely do this job. But again, to the extent that they can respond depends on their ecosystem. But this is like, I would say it's more of a project management and project delivery question rather than technology question. Okay, spend some time, understand how is the startup ecosystem going on. Now, one of the things you hear this acronym regularly, which is called VUCA. The volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguous. This is how the business world is. Things are changing very fast. It's not volatile. I mean, it's not concrete, it's like volatile. Things are changing a lot. If you take a year to plan and execute something, by the time it comes out in the market, the very use case itself may die. People may not need it, which they needed a year ago. A lot of uncertainty. You can't validate a few things, how it works and so on. Things are overly complex. It's increasing because there are so many dynamics, and there is a lot of ambiguity, unfamiliar area which people are all living with. This is the nature of digital disruption. That's why it is difficult to predict the success here. Okay, so look at some of the major changes that are happening. The 3D printing is one of the trend, which it's still an early trend, but if there are countries in which houses are getting printed in 3D. Okay, some 3D printing machine or a printer will come and print a house. Okay, in a couple of days, and then go away. That's it. Done. Your house is ready. I mean, it's not as simple, but it will, in some time, it will mature a lot more. So drones have replaced delivery boys, helicopter, and cameraman. If you look at the way earlier our movies are shooted, there are a lot of helicopter shoots and with cameraman sitting there, etc. But drone has changed a lot of those dynamics. Mobile apps have become so common. 10 years ago, for example, I used to have a mobile phone, but not any significant apps on this, right? Or probably at 12 years ago or something. Most of the time, what I used to do with that mobile, a smartphone, was making calls and sending SMS, not much more than that. Yeah, a few things here and there, but not much more than that. But now everything has come to mobile, which means like I am always available to do a few things, even while on the go, while sitting in a car, and many things that I can do. Right? There are, you probably have seen, drone armies may replace the human armies, right? And the way we are all meeting today is through Zoom. Like during the pandemic, also we are able to conduct this stuff. Udemy, we have already discussed. I mean, there are many. I'm taking only like one or two examples and so on. Right? Social media has so much of impact on us. Unfortunately, we are not trained enough on how to use the technology, how to use these things. So there are more, I mean, if you don't know how to use the technology, it's like you're playing with a very sharp knife without knowing what's the bad effect. It can do powerful job, but if you don't know how to use it, then it's like very, it can cause damage. Technology is already doing something like that. I'll have another another point later, right? Business online identity has become critical, right? Earlier, people were saying there are some predictions. If you have a business, even if it is a small shop, it still need to be in the Google map, right? 10 years or 8 years ago, people used to say that, but we don't know. We could not relate much to it, but today we are searching. If somebody says, okay, we have a party, come here, we are asking them, okay, sure, tell me what is the location. Share your Google location. We're going as per that, right? Technology is changing, becoming the center stage rather than a supporting function. And there is a huge divide with so many things happening in India alone. The unfortunate truth is that more than 80% of the population are not a part of this revolution. And many of them have money and smartphones, internet connection, but still they are not part of this revolution. It's because they don't know how to operate. And there's a huge, for most of the applications, if you want to use Amazon, or you want to order a cab, or you want to order a pizza or some food on the Zomato, etc., you need to be comfortable in making a small financial transaction. Let's say 100 rupees, you should be comfortable paying it. For that, the amount of knowledge that you need to know is quite a bit. If you are comfortable already, that may sound very easy, but it's very difficult. The comparison is like, if you know how to drive a bike, that's a major advantage for you. If somebody doesn't know how to drive a bike, but he needs to carry that bike along with him, it's a major problem. He needs to push the bike also, right? So if you do not know how to use these technologies, still these technologies coming and disrupting the part of your life. And there are many people who do not know how to withdraw money from their own account online or do a fund transfer, but there are hackers who can get the money of somebody else's account also, right? So the digital divide is so much. Okay, look at so many applications. I mean, I'm just pasting here a few icons. Okay. And Dr. Jayashree, just to be in sync, are you able to see my page and you are able to see the icons on my page?
Yes, sir, we are able to see.
Yeah, thank you. Because this is not an audio interactive section. I thought I'll just check with you occasionally so that
Yeah.
even if there is any
Yes.
connectivity, we still will be in sync. Yeah.
We have one more question answer, sir. Maybe at your convenient time, you can answer.
Yeah, I'm checking them only in Q&A. I'm not checking the chat.
Not chat, in the question and answers only.
Okay.
The third question is there.
That's on-demand people skills.
Yes, sir.
That I have already answered there.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Thank you. And yeah, look at there are so many apps. Many of these apps you may be using something, either Paytm, and you may be using one of the Google Pay and our Phone Pay or something like that. Cred, you ignore it, but the reason I kept Cred is you may not be using Cred, or at least most of the students. But this is a unicorn which came up very recently. Just check it. All it does currently is just pay some credit card bills for you. I mean, through that interface. That sounds very trivial, but it is not. Okay, you spend some time later on. A couple of banking portals and Ola and Uber and Domino's and Pizza, Zomato, Swiggy, Redbus, Abibus and stuff. And another page if I go. Then your social media, right? WhatsApp, Insta, Facebook, Koo, and Twitter, YouTube, your other media channels, Saha, and look at that. So out of these, and if you're a music lover, you have so many music apps which are available. Look at this. There are so many applications available on your mobile. And the internet, at least in India, is not expensive at all. So this means, there are so many opportunities as a consumer, you get a lot of options, you can enjoy it and so on, but your time runs away with all these things. You'll have to be very careful how you need to use and what you should not, what you need to use, what you should not use. It's like, going to a buffet where they sell some 200 plus items. But if you keep going to the same buffet every day, you will end up in a health trouble. 1 day or 2 days you can enjoy. But after that, that abundance, unless you know what to take or what not to take, there is a problem. Right? That's exactly what is the digital toxicity and so many things which are coming out of it. But that's kind of out of discussion here. So another, some of these trends, the electric cars towards the end of this year. So we already have a 300 plus kilometers range car within a reasonable budget. There are much more range cars, but out of the budget, not really, reachable to many people. But towards the end of this year, we will come somewhere closer to 500 plus kilometers. Okay, an electric car you can commute with 1 rupee per kilometer, which means from Hyderabad to Visakhapatnam, if you need to travel, it takes like 600 rupees or 700 rupees or something like that. Your tolls will take more than that. At the toll gate, you'll have to pay more than that rather than the amount that you spend on this. Right? This is something we probably have not imagined earlier, and what this changes a lot of things. Right? The moment our economy reduces our dependency on oil, so many things will change. You're going to, and your generation is going to see a lot of things, and all of us are going to see a lot of things in the next 4 or 5 years. Right? There are a lot of bots which are replacing digital assistants. Earlier, somebody used to chat with you when you log into a web portal, but it's now the bot which is chatting with you, including at a so popular portal like Amazon. It's a bot which chats with you. right? Self-driving cars are getting reality, and I quickly come down these things, right? 150 plus unicorns and 60,000 plus startups, and technology is becoming the center of the companies, even though companies um, main business is something else, and you have a very your employment opportunity scenario is drastically changing. Okay, now the question is, how does it matter to you, right? So that we have already discussed for a few stuff. In the interest of the time, I'll quickly jump into the cloud part of it. Now, some of the top digital trends, right, are there are connected clouds. Now you can't depend completely on one cloud service provider when you are in business. So you probably keep something or some of these things in one cloud, and some of the things are another cloud, probably some on AWS, some on Azure, and some on GCP, some on Oracle Cloud, and some on IBM Cloud, and so on. How the cloud need to be connected for your applications or your business processes to work is like one of the top trend. AI and ML, I mean, you guys are already in touch with it, and the IoT is generating a lot of data, and that big data and analytics. There are so many things that are happening around. Now, coming to the cloud, though we talk a lot about these things, the understanding that the cloud is little bit not so uh, well understood across many different types of business. Now, look at this, right? Cloud is popularly known available in terms of infrastructure as a service, or platform as a service, and software as a service. It's like basically somebody else is providing you some services instead of you keep them. You make those things for yourself so that you can use them, and it will be immediately available, and you can use them for a short time only and pay only to the extent that you use. For example, if all you need is you have gone to a new city, all you need is you need a cab for driving from place X to place Y, and for a few times, and that's about it. You don't need to buy a new car in that city. That's a simple thing. But technology doesn't have so many options until recently, right? So this is a picture which you spend some time later on. It gives you a good example or understanding of infrastructure as a service, and a platform as a service, and software as a service. If you own entire thing, if you buy a car, then it's more like your on-premise infrastructure. If you lease a car for, let's say, 2 years, and it's like infrastructure as a service, you get all this stuff, the car finance and depreciation, you don't worry about it, but you take care of its servicing, taxes, you either have a driver or drive yourself or whatever, right? And if you hire a car which is like Zoom cars etc are offering for 3 days outing or something like that, then all you do is they take care of the most part of it. You give the fuel and tolls, and you drive yourself, something like that, or you employ a driver. But they'll take care of the rest of the thing. But if you call a cab, they will do everything. So the SaaS is more like that. For example, Gmail you are using as a software as a service, okay? And platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. For example, in AWS, you can see that EC2 instances, which is Linux servers, are more of an example of infrastructure as a service. Whereas something like EKS, Amazon Kubernetes service, you have Kubernetes available as a service, you go ahead, deploy your Docker containers there. That's more like a platform or a virtual platform as a service, right? Those are some of the examples, but spend some time on this diagram at a later point of the time. This is a very popularly discussed diagram. Some of you may already know it, but still it's worth spending some time, right? So what is changing in the cloud is why the cloud has become so popular is it allows me a quick start. The other example that I have told you, that my infrastructure team in some place, somebody told me that it takes 3 months. I can't really wait, right? And it allows me a quick start, and I don't need to own that. for example, if I take something onto rent something on AWS, they will own it. At the end of an year, I'll ask them, okay, I'm done with my use case. Go ahead and destroy it. I don't need to own them. I don't need to dispose them. I don't need to maintain them. For example, if I own them for a year, and in between, if an operating system version changes and the older version has a security vulnerability, I don't need to worry about it. AWS will patch it for me, right? And I don't need to pay for a long. I mean, when I own it, I'll have to pay everything upfront. Whereas hardware or these things will be obsolete very quickly. A server which I buy today, which I think is a high-end machine and so on, 4 years down the line, that becomes more like a toy, right? And you all are experiencing this in case of mobiles. Your mobile, which is bought like 5 years ago, still functions well today, but it's kind of obsolete. It technically functions, but you no longer need it, right? These are major use cases. And another thing is the pay as you go advantage is that let's say my infrastructure will cost $1 million, right? But for at that time I plan to use for 10 years. So a simple mathematic, I'm not going into inflation, interest and all that, like it's $100,000 every year. Now, it is easy for me to get an approval from my finance for $100 this year rather than ask and give me a money for $1 million. This is true for most of the people. Okay, most of the financial decision maker or business decision maker, this is easy, and I can convince my client, you don't really need to spend that much. Just $100,000 is good enough. Yeah, he will also be happy, right? So these are the reasons why cloud is getting more popular. Yes, and it has a lot of technology choices, etc. Once you look at the portfolio of what the cloud is offering, you see that it has created actually a parallel universe, right? These are the models, and let me just look at the questions. Sir, you will say Geo is one of the reason for digital transformation? Absolutely, yes. Right. The question is Geo one of the reason for digital transformation? Absolutely, yes. Geo is like very instrumental in providing wireless bandwidth as well as wired bandwidth across the India. The moment the bandwidth is available, a lot of things that happen. For example, civilizations come where there is a river, right? You should have some water to stay there. That's why like there are many towns and cities are next to a river, and now it is next to a road. And the civilization will thrive when there is a Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi has become, or data or bandwidth has become one of the civilizational needs now. It is equivalent to air, water, power, roads. Okay, so once it is, if there is no bandwidth or internet available, none of these revolutions work. And even if something is available, but if it is so expensive, most people cannot afford, none of these things will work as effectively as they are doing today. In that, yes, Geo has a major driver for many of these things. Good question. Car as a service slide is comparing. I'm reading the next question. Car as a service is comparing technology on-premise to SaaS. Security is key, right? Yeah, security, of course, yes. How do you justify Google is owning their infra, Amazon on their own, Microsoft on their own, but they are talking all other is not making uncompetitive? Okay, let me see if I understand this question. They're asking, Google is owning their infrastructure. Amazon and Azure are owning their infrastructure, but they are asking us to don't own and go on the cloud. Yes, good question. But here is it: their fundamental offering is different, right? For example, a hotel, a restaurant guy cannot ask us to go and cook. He's cooking and then serving you, right? A cab guy cannot ask us to have your own car. Right, their business is that they are into a cloud-based infrastructure platform or software as a service. So they must own it. And you also must own it if it is very expensive for you. For example, there is Zoho, which is a major software as a service company in India. They have so much of need for infrastructure, platforms, and so on. They have their own private cloud, or they own their infrastructure. The reason is they are so big users that for them it doesn't make sense to go rent on these things. For example, let's say if there are 5-6 people who come to your room for a party, you probably will ask for um, a Zomato or Swiggy or somebody to deliver for you, right? But if there is a marriage at your home, your father will not ask somebody like, let's say 1,000 people are coming, or 10,000 people are coming, or there's a major procession in the local temple, and if your family is taken that the privilege of serving the food, let's say there are 20,000 people are coming, you can't ask Amazon or Zomato or somebody to do that. That is very, very expensive. So you need to employ some cooks, and you need to get all the utensils and then get these things done at a massive scale. Otherwise it will be very expensive, and even it is out of in this case it is out of their ability to serve also. But you need to own those things. The scale at which you need, if you're a startup, yes, it makes sense to go for a cloud. Or if you need a short usage, then you will need to do that. But similarly, renting a car makes sense in some cases, owning a car makes sense in some cases, taking a lease makes sense in some cases, based on the use case. One model doesn't fit for all the cases, right? So again, the most of the applications that we are using today on our mobile or on our desktop, etc., they are using cloud as their backend. Many of them. Okay, so before I go to the next chapters or something, I will also tell you one thing, going back to the previous slides. This one, if you look at so many tools within the DevOps space, most of these tools are either they have a cloud hosting option available, or they are entirely available on the cloud. If you are a DevOps professional working on it, most of the tools that you will be using in your enterprise, they're likely most of them are already on the cloud. For example, you may take a Git account on some hosting like Bitbucket. You may have an account on GitLab, which is cloud hosted. Okay, so the Nexus repository may not be a local installation. I mean, many of them have both the choices, but depending on how much you use it, how secure you need to keep this stuff, you may take an account on the cloud and keep it there, rather than have a local installation, have your administrator run that and all that stuff, right? Even the same thing, Chef or Ansible or Puppet, or your Docker containers may get hosted either in your on-premise installation of a Kubernetes or Amazon Kubernetes, or go to the Mesos installation or Amazon Container Service or Docker OpenShift, and all of them are available. I mean, except ECS or EKS, like all of them are available. Both as you can take the product, install it locally and use it, or use their cloud hosting option and pay something there. And many of these tools are available, and because of the different reasons which we have discussed earlier, many enterprises are using the cloud options, which you for as a user, I mean as a DevOps professional, you don't care whether your particular Git that you are using is actually installed elsewhere or something. You are focused on solving your problem. But many of them are already on the cloud. Now, yeah, so there is another thing that I just want to give a heads up to you. You often very frequently hear the word platform engineering. not so frequently as DevOps, but there's something called platform engineering. Right? There's a huge overlap between platform engineering and DevOps, right? The platform engineering task is basically like this. A product developer and an application developer packages their product, for example, in terms of the jar file, and gives it to the platform engineer or platform architect. Now, it is up to that platform architect to size that product based on, who is the customer who is using it, what is the number of transactions that come, and so on, and have a provision for scaling. On a particular day, on a particular month, if somebody is using it heavily, then how the number of instances will come up, and then how we can serve the transaction value, and how do you provision a DR, again, which stands for disaster recovery. If that entire server, let's say a particular building is impacted by the earthquake and all your servers are gone, and even the power supply itself is disrupted. Okay, so how another site on another location altogether will serve the same thing, and so that the customers will continue to operate? How do you do the upgrades of your products and patching and all that? And how do you make sure that things are secure? These are all platform engineering tasks, right? Many of these tasks are the huge overlap with the DevOps. So the term quite often gets, there's a huge overlap between these two, and quite often these two words are used interchangeably, and people use one word instead of another word. Okay. But just be aware that you're conceptually or probably talking about the same thing.